Hi, and welcome to the third edition of the Vigya podcast. I'm your co-host Vaishak.
And I'm Sayam.
I am Arman.
And I'm Sanya.
Armana and Sanya are our guests today, and it was so kind of them to accept our invitation.
Privileged to be here.
Definitely.
So, essentially, our topic is influencer marketing across different realms or industries, right? So, today that's what we are covering specifically. And while the topic talks about influencer marketing, we'll cover that as well as influencers as a whole, like how they have affected us and what our view of the world is because of them.
So to set the precedent, why don't we begin with Armana and Sanya? You guys telling us what you think an influencer is today.
Well, I think about today, it's really there in the word. Any person who has a fairly large public following and indulges in some, I guess, niche. That's a little important because otherwise, it's not really influential enough. But yeah, has some niche and has a following where people listen to what they say would be a pretty good foundation to start off, in my opinion.
Fair.
I think I completely agree with Arman on this. And I strongly believe that in today's world, we have created the space on the internet that all of us are so truly connected to. And that has somehow, given power to people to create a narrative about themselves, on social media and somehow have a sense of impact on an audience that, they connect to so deeply. So I think, that
Valid points. I think so. If we go off that, what do you think differentiates a celebrity from an influencer? Like for me, when I think about it, it's the fact that influencers, like he said, have a niche and the sense of relatability that you get.
Of course.
So, are there any pointers that make you feel, okay, this guy is a celebrity and this is an influencer?
Or are the lines sort of blurred?
Yeah.
I personally think that somewhere influencers are more personal. Like I feel we know them way more than the lens through which we look at celebrities. Like they are far away. It's blurry. We want to know more about them in a different kind of way, but with influencers it's like they're giving us a daily update of what's happening already, and that's the entire process of trusting them more comes from that aspect. So I believe when it comes to trust, when it comes to influence and even like a sort of connection, that's somewhere more with influencers.
Fair. So essentially, when I'm looking at an influencer, I'm connecting with that person versus when I'm watching a movie, I'm connecting with the character, not the actor himself.
Absolutely.
I mean, of course, there's people pretending to have a personality that is different from theirs, but mostly that's what we believe, that they are their organic selves.
Yeah.
Arman, what do you think?
I actually, not that I disagree with what Sanya said, but I have a bit of an offshoot here.
Okay.
The thing is, if you look at the younger generation of celebrities, right, like older celebrities, like when Shah Rukh Khan posts on Instagram, that's not exactly, that is the star posting, right? You consciously know that this is a star who's posting it, right? But say if, and that's why Ranveer Kapoor doesn't have a social media account, right? Because he wants to be a celebrity of that sort. But if you have these younger celebrities who, like I think Babil Khan posts covers, right? He's much more candid with the way he communicates with his audience on social media. So there it becomes slightly more difficult. I think as influencers head on to the social media space and like take on this digital landscape, when celebrities do that, they do become influencers. They do become influencers, especially because how we consume and shoot media itself is changing. So, bit of a transformation.
Do you think right now we are doing a podcast, every other startup founder has a podcast. Is this sort of becoming an exercise to build distribution, or what do you think it is? Or is there something big that they see in the bigger picture?
I mean, I think if you look at like the 2013 YouTube, premieres, the people who I'm going to point to PewDiePie because that's the first person you think of when you think of someone who sort of heralded that area. This wasn't someone who wanted to make money off of it, right? They were doing it to just do it, right? Same with MKBHD, right? When he started, he was just reviewing a camera.
Right.
But over time, they realized that they had an audience and they could monetize on that. Now I'm not sure that's the case. I think now
Yeah.
there's a lot of there's when you start producing content, you think that I am going to in the long run monetize this and make
True.
something of it.
Yeah.
So there is a bigger picture thing here, and I think that is often what cannibalizes people's attempts to gain a strong following as well. But yeah, it's my
Yeah, I think so too, because initially when the platform started, all these people who came aboard, they didn't know that money is possible out of it.
Exactly.
So they came purely out of passion or a sense of hobby, right?
Right.
Now, even though a person enjoys making videos and they come onto this platform, they still have a very big factor subconsciously in their mind, which is money. Like whether it be convincing their parents, because even the parents have seen how much of a
Yeah.
bank they can make.
It has
So-
become a lucrative.
Yeah, like I'm
profession,
so
right?
surprised. Like,
Definitely.
I think recently I watched a list of top 10 YouTubers, right? I think 4 out of them were kids. They're like 12, 14
Yes.
toy channels. Or like, there's a group of kids that are managed by their parents. So it's very, very surprising. Where I didn't like our era were different. We didn't have phones when we were younger.
Yes.
But at the same time, like even if I were 13, I couldn't possibly come up. Okay, I want to make videos. They'll be like very crappy videos on my phone, right? With no context. Won't have, okay, I want to make videos. I want them to be professional. I want to unbox toys. I want to do dances and stuff. So this is very surprising. And I think, like he said, money is a big factor now. And about the podcasting, I think it's mostly, carving an industry in India, because like it has been popular in the US or like in the European countries for a while. So I think they saw a market that was open. Ranveer Alabadia said this in one of his interviews, that I saw there was a market open, I capitalized it, and that's what a lot of people are doing. So yeah, I think it is a way to capitalize on audience, because people do listen to podcasts a lot now.
Talking about Ranbir Alabadia and beer biceps.
Yes, of course.
He is a very polarizing character in the internet right now.
Yeah.
But one thing that, like you rightly mentioned, he's one of the earliest people who
Yes.
jumped onto the podcast scene in India.
In India.
Yeah. And using that as a segue, why don't you guys tell us who are your favorite influencers and why do you like them?
Go ahead.
All right. I mean, I don't follow content creators influences too closely, but I do want to point to this content creator. Her name is Cleo Abraham. And she worked with Vox initially, and then she had an offshoot and started creating her own YouTube channel, which is huge. And there's an asterisk, if true, and it talks about like technological, innovations that if true could be extremely consequential. And so this is it's a very optimistic science kind of channel, and the way it reduces it down and gives you this intake of knowledge without making you feel dumb about it and keeping it fun, it's an interesting
Fair,
space in
yeah,
itself,
yeah.
right? So definitely I think one of my current favorite influencers would be Cleo Abrams.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, in her own words, she calls herself a video journalist.
Yeah,
And that I felt was really interesting.
It's a better
Like,
way of putting
I
it,
think
true.
people also in a way want to not associate themselves as like the influencer,
Yeah.
True.
and they don't want to get typecasted like that.
Yeah,
right?
Fair.
That's fair.
Fair.
I feel when it comes to I think the lines are really blurred between being a content creator and an influencer.
Yeah.
But when I think about it, I really associate people that somehow use some tactic of storytelling with their narratives, right? Like when you create content without that feeling like content.
Yeah, fair.
Like, right? Like when I pursue it something like art or like filmmaking, and when you use something like that to
Yeah.
show me what you're trying to influence, I think I find that very interesting. There's a very popular creator, the American Baron. I think Arman is a huge fan of him.
Yeah.
And something very similar to him is what Priyanshu Modi is doing in India today. He's making these really amazing reel formatted videos where he's using a lot of filmmaking, a lot of poetry, through his narration. And I think he's definitely one of my favorites.
Right. Sayam?
So, like, for me, I can't list down one favorite influencer, because I watch these, I consume media for drastically different purposes. So it ranges from total sense of I'm done with work, I want to watch something that doesn't make sense. Like I watch Sidemen. So it's just brainless content, like man-child's doing absolutely weird stuff. But at the same time, it goes down a wormhole where I follow this content creator Shein. It's essentially all his content is train hopping. So train hopping is essentially where you climb trains and like travel through that illegally. And his videos are crazy cinematic. He covers like Cappadocia and all the European countries. He train hops across different cities, and Europe you can cross countries also.
Right.
And then he camps in like jungles on top of buildings in terms of abandoned places. They're like 40 to 1 hour, 1.5 hour long videos. And I think for that, the reason I watch them is a sense of escapism, I feel, because I know I won't ever do that, right? But it's I think like Sanya said, it's the way he creates content. Doesn't feel like it's he's uploaded because he said he'll upload every Tuesday, Friday. So it's Tuesday upload, Friday upload. It's just there because they are not organically, in a sense, they are not algorithm wise.
Correct.
So it just feels organically, it dropped a video. At the same time, the video itself is so raw. It's just,
Right.
you can see the cuts, you don't see the production that's gone into. And yeah, that is, I feel big productions are not much for me, because like I say, Sidemen, they do big productions, right? But like influencers like Mr. Beast, I don't follow. I have never watched a single
Yeah.
video.
Same.
And I don't have a gravitation towards them. Like I have been big PewDiePie guy and stuff. So yeah, it drastically differs, but I think that is a few people I'd like to talk about.
Right. For me, I think, like Arman's already mentioned, MKBSD is one person who definitely stands
Yeah.
out. Like, I feel like with the evolution of YouTube, he has also grown up, like, from a teenager to now, like, being the biggest name in tech. And tech space in YouTube is so saturated. There are so many channels, but he somehow managed to, keep his niche, and especially the production of his videos. They are so good. They're like these tiny little Easter eggs kept every now and then. And his video editing style, everything, I think he still edits his own videos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's, adding on to that, it's like he's defined how you do tech reviews on
Yeah.
YouTube.
He set the benchmark so
Exactly,
high that
exactly.
people are just trying to replicate him now.
So, waveform shout out.
Moving on.
Technical Guruji is not that bad. He's rich.
Yeah, he's very rich.
That is true.
In fact, I think Technical Guruji has what, 30 plus million followers?
I think he's big. He's very big. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he's the
think
biggest tech YouTuber.
He
in
reviews
fact.
on NDTV or something now.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
Wow.
also doing that.
What?
Yeah, like the gadget reviews they have.
Oh,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah,
he's-
the Gadget
he's into
Guru.
that as well. Yeah,
Gadget Guru,
yeah,
yeah.
Gadget Guru. So the man's got off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Right. So, jumping off of that, so how do you think the market works? So, of course, like of course, influencers, like, they publish their content, but YouTube itself doesn't pay their bills. So they need ad revenue and marketing products, brand
Brand
sponsorships.
collaborations, yeah.
So at what level do you think, on what basis do you think influencers capitalize on brands, and vice versa? How do brands capitalize on influencers?
Well, I think when you look at monetizing content, there's like two basic dichotomies you have. Some content creators will say, you know what, no, I'm not going to enter the
Yeah.
space of, monetizing and like going to brands, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. And some will say, it's fine as long as I'm getting to produce more content, which is an argument you can
Yeah,
definitely make,
Fair.
right? But ultimately, even the people who don't go to brands are selling themselves as brands,
Yeah.
and so that's where things like Patreon comes on.
Yeah.
So you monetize your own content, and I mean, no disrespect either way. It's a business model.
Yeah.
But so either you go down that route, or like MKBHT now that we've been talking about him for a while, he doesn't go to every other sponsor that comes his way. All right, he has like one channel sponsor, D brand,
Right.
that does skins for phones,
D-brand.
and I think a VPN every now and then, and that's it. So either you can do that, or you can become a complete sellout. Though that
Would you like
would
to mention somebody for that?
I'm not taking any names, but yeah, it would seriously damage your reputation and niche
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. So
And like, people are smart enough, they notice when somebody is a sellout, right?
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
the organic personality of the person attracts them. When you see they are like just sponsoring products that are on the face, like poker games, like normal
Yeah.
these games they sponsor.
True.
We are smart enough to know, okay, this is not good. So that kind of puts you off towards their content. And yeah, like, if you be organic enough and like have a steady following, becoming a brand themselves is like a very big thing now.
Yeah.
Every content creator that has decent following has transition, like and it's very random. David Dobrik having his pizza shop.
Yes.
Then there is Emma Chamberlain with her coffee. So it is very random, but they are good products that they have launched, and people are following that. So I
Right.
think that makes a very big difference.
Honestly, I think it's quite a challenge today for brands to find people that are somehow completely organic and natural with their audience. Okay, to point out like an example, today if we scroll, through our social media, and if we find a creator that we genuinely really like, but then as soon as we see that it's a sponsored post, that यहाँ कुछ collaboration हुआ है, I feel there is a sense of decreased engagement that just subconsciously happens. I think today we're, as a generation, we're on a constant lookout for like originality, right? For something that we're constantly on a lookout for like creation. And when there are a lot of influencers doing this, that they do it in a way that you don't get to know the entire sellout point isn't rubbed out on your face, right? So I think that is also like a quite interesting take that.
Yeah, I mean, something occurred to me while you were talking about. I saw this reel by Vishnu Kaushal the other day. Very famous Instagram content creator, featured in Donkey. But he had this reel about it was a Coke sponsored post. All right, and it was, I think, something to do with relationship things.
Girlfriend acting like my girlfriend.
Yeah,
or
acting
something,
like my girlfriend. And so they have this thing, and they have a thing where they keep the cans, and that's fine, right? That's because they're not interfering with the video. And then in the end, for like 4 seconds, it's just the Coca-Cola logo that appears. And I'm like, the person who must have contacted the influencers, they must have been like, we want, like, that feels like such a brand thing to do, So it's a really interesting intersection, because you have influencers who are supposed to make their content seem organic. And then you have brands who want to make sure that people understand that it's your brand that's there for a reason. So that intersection it's so interesting to look at, And
it has changed a lot, because like even I remember initially, if they were sponsored posts, it'd just be the person sitting and like, okay, I have this product. That's it. But now they have, intertwine. They have asked their influencers to intertwine it in their lives so much that it's mostly, especially the comic influencers, right? They start with a skit and they put the product somewhere, whether it be like I think Zoopy or something, it's like a gambling thing, and they're like, oh, I'm bored or something like, oh, what are you doing, kya kar raha hai? Like, मैं Zoopy पे Ludo खेल रहा हूँ. Something like this, which is like, okay, this is actually a part of their life, which it is not. But it's still the way even the brands have come around realizing what people want and how listening to content creators in a way, essentially. So that also makes a big difference in the industry, I feel.
I think adding on to that, this is something that Tanmay but interestingly mentioned in a podcast. He was saying like the moment you see a sponsored post, regardless of it's written or not, people just are immediately put off. Like it's just such a put off that you don't even want to like watch the videos of that creator anymore.
True.
Now that we have mentioned influencer marketing, so the 4 industries which have adopted this are like really well in terms of the ratio. One is FMCG, automobile industry, finance and banking sector, which has seen the emergence of finfluencers who have been under the scrutiny by SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India. So they have put regulation on that, and of course fashion industry. So what are your thoughts on these 4 markets being the first to jump onto the bandwagon?
Honestly, I have been following a lot of fashion influencers, right? You look at Komal Pandey, right? There is a legacy that this woman has created.
It's very big now.
And she's grown over a period of time, right? And she has also put India, under the spotlight of what the country can do with its talent, right? Especially because there are so many creators in the sphere of fashion and beauty already. I think it really depends on how you capitalize your creativity with brands, with competitors, and the way you do it really matters a lot. So I feel because this is a sphere that is so easily influenceable on a platform like social media, and because teenagers are so highly linked to it, it is an intriguing, important, and a crucial aspect. But yeah, I mean, the way she does it, I think, is really powerful.
Stemming off of that, you mentioned fashion. An example of like the beauty industry, or like at least the skincare and whatnot. The key here is to like resonate with your brand identity, right? Now, CeraVe, they had this very interesting thing because they're very medicinal in that sense, right? A very you get hospital vibes from that brand, right? So instead of going to regular influencers, who would have otherwise talked about skincare, etc., they kind of did what is the equivalent of a Sensodyne doctor in an ad telling you that like sensitive teeth, etc.
Yeah.
So they went to doctor influencers, right? I think Dr. Mike is one of them.
Yeah,
so like
yeah,
one such person, right? They went to two of these, and like health tips on TikTok is like a thing, right? So if you have someone who has actual medical practice experience giving you health tips, it's like the perfect place for you to like stem off with your brand. So that's how they did. And it worked out really well for them because it works with their brand identity. They're getting experts to endorse their brand, and it's already taking on something that has people have a flavor for it online. So yeah, I mean that was a really clever thing to do.
In fact, to add on, I think Siam did mention a lot about, these kids turning into creators and influencers. I think we don't realize, but not just in India, like globally, children have such a great impact when it comes to influencing other kids, right? And it's working on both sides. Like now we're seeing a gradual rise in these kid content creators, kid influencers, and also at the same time, every other kid you spot at a restaurant, they have a phone in their hand, right? You want to feed them, you want them to stay quiet, we give them phones, we let them watch videos on YouTube, right? And they're not just watching cartoons anymore, they're watching these kid content creators, they're watching these funny videos and all of this, and the way brands are using this, it's insane. There is so much to it that is yet unexplored, both ethically and legally. But it is definitely like a increasing market.
That's the thing, because I feel especially if you take lifestyle influences on the makeup ones, there's not much logistic needs. You can set up a camera, ring light, and you have your products. That's it. That's why I feel like kids are able to jump on it, not lifestyle as much, but like makeup and like reviewing things. At the same time, of course, the part there, how kids being on this platform this early has had repercussions that have been very negative, whether it be the kid themselves or like they said something or influenced people, not kids, I think teens or 20 years old, that affected people, their viewers, negatively. So I feel like in terms of the industries we mentioned, there's a lot of gray areas in lifestyle influencers, especially because on Instagram I get a lot of reels, right? If I'm following gym content, everything, this millionaire lifestyle, and this college is bad, go to I was 13 when I started working in like I was paid minimum, I was paying like distributing newspapers and everything, and then I built my business. So like if you go to college, you spend XYZ money, use that time to upskill yourself, freelance and get money. So I think even if it won't directly influence the person to drop out, it'll still confuse the person. Now, I'm not saying it's all bad, right? It has positive effects also, where people who actually had their skills were able to transition into freelancing and eventually entrepreneurship. But I feel like these two industries are where there are a lot of gray zones, which I think need to be sorted out. So I'd love to have your views about it.
The lifestyle, and I feel like lifestyle enters a very like it's such a mess in there, because I mean everyone calls themselves a lifestyle influencer, and this kind of like travel thing, when companies try to appeal to influencers, it comes out in a way of either these bookings, or you can use a certain kind of, so for like the health kind of lifestyle where you
Yeah.
say all vegan and
Yeah,
keto
yeah.
diets and all of that. That's really a place where
True.
people are, trying to get into the habit of it.
Hmm.
And in a sense, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you think about it, resources for lifestyles like, a vegan diet, it's difficult to come by it on an everyday
Yeah.
basis. So in a sense, it works for vegan brands because it's hard for a vegan brand to not come off as like a
Yeah,
goody
yeah.
two shoes.
Yeah, true.
Right? And when you are giving an option to someone who's seeking a way to pursue that lifestyle,
Yeah,
it works for everyone.
of course.
The only way you mess that up is by either not being a very
Yeah.
ethical company in yourself, or I think Mama Earth got a lot of
Yeah,
backlash
yeah.
in that sense. So yeah, I think it's a very weird territory to sort of navigate in that sense.
Mamaearth, in fact, just IPO'd, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think
yeah.
it's doing well.
They open physical stores for some reason. I went to the mall, this random store of Mamaearth which I never imagined. Like, there's no need for it. That's why I think the influencers got mad about it, because there's
Yeah.
absolutely no need. It's like a weird
Yeah.
pop-up stall in the middle of the mall. Is this lady sitting? Because like people shop online, especially these kind of products.
True.
People shop online like for cosmetics and shampoos and everything in general. So I think mostly people go out, at least from my experience, I won't generalize. For groceries, that too, my dad, like my sister mostly orders it home. So I don't know the point of having a physical store for a product that came out as startup, and specifically for those products. So I think that is a misuse of the money that they get, but who knows?
Adding to that, like all these digital first brands that's come out,
Yeah.
like Mamaearth and like, I don't know, M Caffeine.
Yeah,
Brands
yeah.
like these, when they try to transition to a offline and online model,
Yeah.
then the issue comes with the, supply chain operations.
Yeah.
And when you hit the supermarkets, you're directly competing with the likes of Unilever,
Yeah.
True.
Agile.
Yeah.
Big,
And
big fish.
that is like big competition.
Yeah.
And there itself, like, people would just prefer your Unilever
You're
products.
fighting for shelf space when you can have a whole website that's dedicated to your
Exactly.
product. So you have Instagram dedicated to your product, where you now the Instagram has shop now option also.
Yeah,
So you just tab it directly redirects you to the site. So I mean, I don't see it, but I mean there must be something.
Look at Lenskart.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a prime example of
Yeah.
a brand thought that they could, do it everything
Yeah.
offline and whatever. But then in the end, it's just, process of buying spectacles. It's so personal.
right.
I have experience in the field, but yeah, like it's such a personal process.
Of course.
How will you go online and buy that? And same with
Yeah.
skincare. There's a touch and feel of the product that
right.
you can't get otherwise. So that is very difficult, managing the offline online thing, and you have to plan ahead.
The other interesting industry is automobile. I'm surprised to see it here, in fact. So, Sayam, I know you bought a bike in the recent past.
Yeah.
So, was there any influence of any influencer that you like to mention?
Of course. So with these things, it's like, especially, I think, and this is for this goes across generations. Like even my father, even though he comes, like he has bought cars in a time where there was no social media. So I don't know how he bought it. Actually, I would like to ask him. But yeah, now like especially when there are talks about buying a vehicle, first thing you do is watch YouTube, right?
Yeah.
There's so many channels that are mostly like I think Motor Octave is there, and 2-3 other. There are very massive channels that actually go to European countries when there are car shows, right?
Yeah,
They're
Top Gear
invited,
also.
Yeah. So all these channels. So I think they are very helpful in sort, because companies are launching vehicles every other day.
Yeah.
You can't even every day I go around and look, when did this car come out? Whether it be new cars or facelifts of the existing models, you can't keep track. So I feel like it's a very great way to just, all you need to do is realize your budget. You can sort out, okay, these two brands I don't want, because I know कि their service is expensive and stuff. So ये 2-3 brand मेरे दिमाग में है. This is my budget. Color and everything you decide later. You just go to YouTube. You'll get, mostly if your budget is like, suppose for a bike it's like 2-3 lakhs, then you'll get a single channel, a single episode where they're comparing 5 to 6 bikes within the same budget. So you don't even need to watch multiple different videos. So I think it's very helpful. And like in our generation, even if we don't buy vehicles, even though like most of us I talk to, they don't really want to buy a vehicle, but again it's a thing of pride, like having a house of our own, having a car or vehicle of our
Consumer
own.
durable, yeah.
So I think automobile influences are very, very important, and especially Indian ones. because of course like I love to watch videos about Teslas and all, but like at the same time that just opens an experience where we can, like, we talk about, this is very interesting to me, we talk about US as if we have been there, we have lived there, even though if I have never been to the US, because we have so much exposure due to social media influencers. We know what they eat for breakfast, like for our art practical especially, they got Twister. I got mac and cheese. I've never had it, but because of pop culture references and watching YouTubers, I know everything about it.
True.
Yeah, so in terms of automobile industry, I think it's very good to have these kind of influencers and content creators, because when I look back, I noticed a transition between the fact that my dad is telling me we need to buy a car, so I am sitting on my phone or that one laptop we have, going through videos and then keeping it in front of my father and showing him, okay, XYZ, versus me going home and noticing that my father is watching different channels reviewing different vehicles on YouTube himself, and his algorithm is full of cars and bikes or whatever he wants to watch. So that is a very fresh thing to look, and it's very nice that like they are not depending on us now, they are self-dependent, know what to do, and they're enjoying this era where everything is at their fingertips. So yeah.
I think you point out like a very interesting thing कि
Thanks.
back in those days कोई भी high involvement product अगर होता था, you take automobiles or even like tech gadgets, our parents, or even when we were young, we would prefer going to the store, you know, on our own. Like even Arman mentioned the entire skincare thing, like how we would want to test it and then make a decision, right? But today somehow everything has changed, right? We trust influencers so much, right? And again, it comes down to that entire thing of how strongly do we trust them today ki everything that they're saying somehow has an impact towards our decision making process, right? So I think that shift is something that is very interesting to look upon.
Yeah, I think it hasn't completely changed everything, because again, if I say cars specifically or even like tech products, I will listen to the influencer. I'll finalize based on their opinions. Okay, these 3 things I'm interested in. So instead of going around the city, going store to store or showroom to showroom, I know 4 showrooms I have to visit. When I reach, this is what I have to tell the salesman. This is what I have to see. Then based on my touch, I finalize, okay, this is what I want. So it just made it easier to work around. While we still have our own principles while buying something, it has just made the process a bit more streamlined.
Right.
So I think that's a good change.
Absolutely. Adding on to that, like in my family at least, for the longest time I was considered to be the tech guru. So like if anyone, even like from my distant family, wanted to like buy something, they would like reach out to me. But in the last few years at least, I don't religiously follow these channels anymore and whatever. So all I tell them is just watch an unboxing video, watch its review. If you like it, I think you're in a very good position to make the purchase decision. So the convenience part, it's become extremely convenient. Like, so you know what it looks like, you know what's in the box, you know what comes with it and what does not.
Right.
So all you need to do is like, if you're confident enough, just buy now, just hit that button, or just go to your nearest store and make the purchase.
Damn, quite an influencer.
And I think like watching unboxing is essentially watching an ad, but it's not by the brand. Like that's what, like especially tech, an ad that the brand makes is just a lot of, you know, high tech visuals that is telling the product's specifications. Unboxing is just kind of more boring, but at the same time kind of more fun, because I think it's more in depth and you see a person using it. So essentially we end up watching ads, but they're much longer, but I think it's just fun that way.
I mean,
So,
and so many times brands are likely to send the product to the
Exactly.
influencers to review for
Exactly.
them, and you know that again becomes a very tricky line to toe, because how do you, unless that little button pops up in the bottom left of the YouTube screen where it tells you that this is, you know, sponsored
Sponsored,
content,
yeah.
how are you to trust and know that, you know, what this and there's this YouTuber Mr. Mobile, Michael Fisher, so he also reviews you know, products and everything, tech products. So at the end of his video, you know, he always goes that as always this product was not sent to me by
The
you know,
brand.
XYZ
Oh,
brand,
wow.
and they did not and even if they do, if they have sent it to an review, he says that they did not have any prior, you know, viewing of this content, and they're seeing this when this comes out with you. That's sort of a way of establishing integrity
They
also.
don't shy away anymore from saying this is
Exactly.
not sponsored, because they know it'll have a completely different impact on people. So yeah.
And even so many times when content creators do accept promotions, they won't say thank you for sponsoring this video. They'll say
Yeah.
thank you for sponsoring a portion of this video,
Yeah.
because again they want you to understand
Yeah.
that the rest of it is mine.
True.
So there's sneaky ways you come up with sort of
Yeah.
psychologically convincing your viewers.
So I think throughout this we have established that influencers or content creators are like a very big part of our lives right now, and they will be for the upcoming future, for the foreseeable future. And again, there are the pros and cons, but yeah, in general, if we look at from a student's perspective, it's like what for me an influencer is, if I stick to Instagram specifically, where I can just film parts of my life, which is get ready with me or come to college with me and keep talking about my life. If I have starting with my friends, eventually gain the following, keep my account open, and hopefully land into sponsors. It can be projecting my life in a way that's healthy and getting money out of sponsors, right? So if you have established that it's that easy nowadays to become a sponsor, I would like to ask you guys, why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we capitalizing on a market that's ever growing as of now?
Arman?
No, I'll take it like a champ. So, I mean, I think a fair number of people are doing it as well. I think a lot of, especially if you look at people who are interested in fashion, there's Mintra, there's Urbaning, there's campus sports, etc., etc. So you can cash in on that.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm someone who is interested in the performing arts, specifically acting, right? The thing is that as far as I'm concerned, what I fear more than anything, two things. Firstly, it's difficult to maintain that schedule, to keep posting. And secondly, I fear a commercialization of my art.
Yeah.
More than anything, at what point does my art become artificial when I'm trying to make sure that I have a constant, following going on, people are finding my content engaging.
Yeah.
At what point, do I, it's even less about becoming an influencer, more about, there's a reason there's this kind of icky feeling associated with the word influencer.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And you have to be really careful as to how you can keep that groundedness in your life while producing content. And there's a certain passion you must have for the online space for this to happen. My Instagram is dead. I post like thrice in 2 decades. So it's, there also it becomes an issue because I don't post very often. And for that to be a thing would require significant time of mine. And I am a student. There's also a few other things that I'm doing on the side, right? So it's nothing I'm closing myself off to. But even if I were to look at art form, I'd definitely try acting first. See how that goes. And if content creation comes off as like an offshoot of that, then I'm all for it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think Sangam, it's honestly beyond just money. Okay? Today I feel, especially in India, influencers are not just selling products and promoting brands anymore. It's so much beyond that. Today you see a movie, they're a part of that. Suddenly on the big screen you're like, oh my god, how did they get here, right? So now, especially in India, it's become a norm ki if you really want to get to the screen for acting or for like a really good role, even stand-up comedy, any big thing that you see, somehow it's getting aligned with becoming an influencer first. Like that is it's becoming normalized that is the first step,
True.
to get fame, right, to become like really popular. However,
Best way to get discovered, essentially.
And I think the best and the most annoying part about it is that everyone's doing it now. Because it's so easy, because it's so out there, there is no stopping, right? And it's not just creating a lot of competition, but the entire aspect of how we started talking about niche, right? That is dissolving, right? So Kalko, even if I have to think about becoming an influencer, and as a storyteller, as a spoken word artist, my work is essentially, it begins and ends on stage. There's nothing beyond that I have to do, right? But trust me, it eats me up because I see these really popular storytellers doing it every day and doing it like perfectly with no flaws, right? So I think it's something that we have to listen to ourselves, and we need to delve into our personalities and we need to create a definition between what we exactly want.
Yeah.
I don't know how this will align with what we're doing right now, but we constantly talk about what a great market it is, and simultaneously we're also talking about social media addiction.
Yeah.
We're also talking about shorter attention spans,
Yeah.
and how we should get away from phones. There are movies being made on this, literally, right? So yeah, I think that's an interesting question that we as students should take our time, introspect, and all of us will have our own answers, and I think that's
course.
the best part.
Yeah, of course. That's true.
Just adding on to that, I feel like right now more than ever, the ease of content creation itself is just so good. Like anyone with a phone can make a video and become
Yeah.
a YouTuber or make reels on Instagram. But just giving my view on this, like why I don't see myself doing this is because I feel there's a lot of bias. Like I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
There is some sort of negative connotation, at least subconsciously in my mind, that influencer. Like the first thing that comes to mind is like someone making a reel.
Yeah.
It's I don't know why that is the case. Like no disrespect to any of them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm sure like a lot of them are doing really well. More power to them.
Yes.
But it's just that like Sania mentioned, like the feedback loop of like getting stuck with these vanity metrics, like how many likes.
True.
Yeah.
You know, you I feel like I will get addicted and I will constantly keep wanting the validation the internet's giving me. Like people who I don't know, are they liking it? How many people are like not commenting? What is the ratio? Am I getting like cancelled or if I say something?
True.
So I don't want to get stuck in this loop. So
Yeah.
that's why like at least I'm trying to be more conscious with like what I'm putting out there and
Very valid.
yeah.
Yeah. I think like to go off of that, like I saw this real trend that's pop up now for you page. It's like the juxtaposition between the comment section on YouTube and Instagram. So I think that was, and it's so drastic because I personally experienced it. I think some Godzilla movie is about to come, so I'd seen this. Like, okay, it's fine, it's about to come up on Instagram. I start looking at the comment section, and it's bad. They're like, it's the worst. Why it's Godzilla pink, BTS Godzilla, gay Godzilla, just mad, unnecessary comments. And then like, is it a bad movie? So I go off YouTube to watch the full, and YouTube comments are complete different. So excited, the CGI is so good, and I like, and then when I saw the trends where there a person like dress get ready with me content like YouTube page, it's like, oh wow, great fashion, XYZ, you look so good, his eyes are so XYZ, and Instagram it's bad, like
Yeah.
I won't even say it because it's that bad. So I feel that's the issue with it, because if for me, of course, there's the obvious fact that I see people that are so refined in what they create. They're so natural while saying some of the most thought-provoking things that I feel that I'm not that insightful. So that is intimidating. But at the same time, there's bad influences, which content I watch that is created by my peers or in general people that belong to the same background I'm from, and like we are experiencing similar things in life, and I cringe at it. I don't like it. So I don't want to, if I project myself in their shoes, I don't want to create content that people don't like. And the fact that even if your content is good, some metrics you can't control.
Yeah,
People will
yeah.
be mean just for the sake of being mean.
Yeah, of course.
Like, this is good, you have a billion people saying it's great, but at the same time thousands will say it's bad. You ask them why, like, I don't know, I just felt like commenting it. So that metrics you can't really control, and if the content is bad and the comment says it's bad because of XYZ reasons, I'm all for constructive criticism. But if a comment is bad for the sake of I just wanted to curse you, then it becomes a bit tricky for me. So yeah, I think these things are there, of course, in the fact that I don't see how it aligns with what I want to be in life. So if I get into it right now, it will purely be from the sense of money. If not that, then maybe maybe I produce something funny, I go viral, then I get into a movie or something. But again, money, and that is like a very big pipe dream. There's no reason for that. But yeah, so the reason I wouldn't particularly start creating content tomorrow is because I don't have a reason why, and if I don't have a reason why, then again it won't be regular, it won't be organic.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole reason, I think, yeah, that's about it as to why I won't do it.
So I think so far we have established or tried to establish what an influencer is. We have spoken about different industries. We have spoken about our favorite influencers. So let's all give like a closing remark on this. Sania, would you like to go first?
Definitely. So I think we initially began with understanding a definition that
Right.
all of us had in our heads
Yeah.
about what influencer generally is.
Yeah.
But I think towards the end of this, now we're suddenly talking about so many things beyond just what being an influencer is, what it can do to the market, what it can do to the industry, how crazily it's booming and it will continue to in the future. And not just that, about how it is also having an impact about our careers in the first place, you know, as students. So this has been like a very intriguing discussion, not just from an advertising and a branding point of perspective, but also personally as creators, how far do we want to go ahead?
Very well. I think what I'll say is that firstly, as far as an influencer is concerned, Rome wasn't built in a day. Especially when we talk about niches, you mentioned that it's become really difficult now to find a niche, right? But if we look at influencer marketing through a macroscopic lens, a few things you should know. Firstly, as an influencer, you have to be really careful. You need to have a very good niche. You need to have a solid following. You need to know why you have that following. Right? Virality it's like a fever dream. Right? It's gonna go anywhere. And as a brand, you need to know which influencers to target. You need to know why you need to target them. Right? You can't just pick one of like the top, like the most followed people on the internet and be like, I'll take this person. That's not how it works. So influencer marketing only works if the intersection of the brand and the influencer is done well. It's thought out well and it's executed well. Right? If it's not, then honestly, you're gonna disappoint some viewers.
Yeah. And the fact that actually content creators actively say that I want my content to be specific, like I won't curse, or I won't say this because I want sponsors. Like you say, Karimnath is polar opposite. His content is 90% cursing, and he has a very strong following. At the same time, there are content creators that I won't do XYZ. I won't promote this because I know this will deter sponsors, and I don't want that. I want sponsors. So again, that is also an insight that we can go off of. But I think again, I said this before, insightful content as a whole is very important. And influencers, content creators are channels through which we receive them, whether it be reviews, whether they act as a POC between the customer and the brand, or whether it's not related to anything at all. It's just a person sitting on his table with, Interstellar-esque music in the background and he's saying stuff. And it's 3 o'clock and you're just watching him or her, and it's just there. Oftentimes it's just when you watch it at night, it's like, oh, that's crazy, and you watch it in the middle of the day, like, okay, what's the crap? But sometimes they're saying genuinely inciting stuff, and it's like the fact that there is billions of people and everybody's a main character in their own life, right? And when I see Vaishak sitting, I know he's a good guy. I know like all the things that are outside. But what he's really thinking on the inside, only he knows. So getting those insight from a person who is sitting across the globe, it's just that kind of content again intrigues me. So I think across the realm, having people talking in general, communicating whether what they feel about other material things or what they feel in general about their worldview, I think it's very important. I'm glad to have it in the day and age I existed.
In fact, Pratay, I also like really want to add this. Ki we've spoken so much about the influencer side, and like as Arman mentioned, it's so important to come up with like unique and niche content, right? I think it's also very crucial and vital to add that even with brands, like choosing an influencer for your product is like casting an actor for a film, right? So you can't just pick up the most popular person out there, right? You need to see that their personality matches, like this is going to be the face of your product. So it really aligns with the characteristics that you have as a brand and as a product. So I think even that's like a very important point when it comes to influencer marketing.
Because when you choose a big influencer, the product will reach a lot of people. But when you use an influencer that aligns well with your brand and it has a following that also somewhat comes in the Venn diagram, if we say, then you know that okay, if it reaches 100,000 people less, the amount of people that actually interact with the company will be higher. So I think it is a very tough thing. So I think that's a very interesting point.
Yeah, just adding on to that. like you see almost every brand just going to Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
Like commercials.
Yeah.
So it's sort of become like a cheat code because there's guaranteed eyeballs
Yeah.
that just comes with a brand like his.
Of
Also
course.
makes Virat Kohli less likable.
True, I agree.
So
It was very funny how I think the initially he's like Puma brand ambassador, right?
Yeah.
So apparently Puma launched merch and they promoted his wife into it, and Anushka Sharma, and then she posted Puma on her Twitter saying this is wrong, you can't do this without permission, and next day she's announced that another brand ambassador for Puma.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So now both
No,
of them
in fact,
are
Virat reshared that tweet
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
this is not done at the rate Puma.
yeah. And then
there
they
will
will
be
die.
repercussions.
Yeah, so
and
I think it's funny at some point. Like, I mean,
But-
there's no need, but fair enough.
Arman, you won't believe this. So there's a very popular Instagram page, The Indian Idiot,
Yeah, yeah.
and they announced Virat Kohli as the most loved celebrity of this year, like on top
no,
one.
I'm not saying that you're gonna hate Virat Kohli if he appears in like a Oppo ad. What I'm saying is that influencers have niches, right?
Mm.
Celebrities also should have niches.
Yeah.
Right. If Akshay Kumar got slammed for
Yeah.
entering the Vimal thing. I mean, all of
Yeah.
them do, but like
every actor, they're like,
Yeah.
they have their own multiverse. Like
Exactly.
7 of them
Yeah.
appearing in single
Exactly,
ad.
right?
It's
So-
insane.
it's that's what I mean. Like Virat Kohli, at some point you can't just go around accepting every sponsorship that comes your way. And I feel
Yeah.
like somewhere down the line he's kind of gotten that realization because it has reduced. At the start it was a lot more.
Yeah.
So I mean, tread anywhere,
Yeah.
Mm.
but go where things also seem fit.
I
for
think
you.
like brand like Vimal and like they do ads for Tunkies and all. I think for there the only metric is to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah.
That's why they cast these big celebrities. But again, yeah, it does put you off when you see people sponsoring weirdest stuff. Whether it be like underwears and stuff is fine.
yeah.
At the same time, it's like why? Because like it doesn't make sense a lot of times. So yeah, I mean it is good to have niches, but again, like if you want money, you want money. I mean.
There it is, I am.
I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Make sure you tune in for the next one for more stats, facts, and trivia. Thank you.
I didn't know he was gonna say that, but yeah, that was good. That was good. Okay, thank you guys for coming, and yeah, thank you guys for watching.